Live. It looks like we're recording. Welcome everyone to another episode of Daily Freedom. I'm your host Fernando Lopes, and today I have the pleasure and the honor to interviewing Chris Trammell. He is the creator of the Author Launchpad and Launch Your Life's Work. And I was very struck when I met Chris because I met Chris in a workshop called the Masterful Communicator. And when Chris got up to communicate his gifts to us, it was one of the most organized, eloquent, and powerful presentations I've ever experienced. So I thought, Chris, will you please be my guest in the podcast? And he said yes! And he is here. So Chris, welcome. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, Fernando, and thank you so much for allowing me to be your guest in front of your audience and the people who love you. I greatly appreciate it. And hello, all of Fernando's fans. I hope you're having a wonderful day as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris, for being here. And so how about this? How about we start in the beginning? Actually, how about this? We start at the end. So the end, or not the end, but the current end, which is not really the end, but you're here coaching people that are already successful to launch their life's work. Why?
Wow, why? So the why is a different question. It reminds me of the Simon Sinek TED Talk, which was a TEDx, and it was on a side TEDx, right? And it ends up going viral. And why does it go viral? Because the question of why had been neglected by most people, being anchored back to the why they do things. Now, most of us in the community, the coaching community, we know that why matters, but the world at large had drifted away from why. That's why when he said start with why, it was like being thrown a cold water bucket. Like, what do you start with why? What a crazy idea, right? But it's like, no, you've just forgotten how important it is to anchor yourself into why. So when you ask me why right now, the why is for me. Do you want the short answer or do you want the longer answer?
Let's go the longer because
Okay,
my fans, my viewers, they just like the juicy parts. So bring on the story, my friend.
I love it. Let me see. I don't know if I get my foot all the way up, but I'm going to try it. No, I can't.
I saw your foot.
You did? I'm
Yeah.
wearing dinosaur socks right now. That just goes to show I'm 6'4", which means my ability to flex and stretch, I can't get my feet this high anymore. I grew up loving dinosaurs, and it was like my brothers were bigger than me. They were stronger. They were a little bit meaner and would push me around. But the one thing that we could play with, that we all met and had fun, was playing with dinosaurs. And I grew up inside of a home where there was dinosaurs everywhere, but there was one place where dinosaurs were not really accepted. Or maybe it was the way I asked about them, and that was in Catholic school growing up in the 80s. The nuns did not want to hear about, sister, where are the dinosaurs at in this story you're telling me, right? They would ignore me, they'd look past me, be like, sister, where's the dinosaurs at? They'd ignore me, they'd look past me, and then finally one day, they call my parents. My mom's like, look, no more harassing the nuns about dinosaurs. That's it. Dinosaurs stay home. And I'm like, okay, well, fine. What else do I do? So then that little row of kids that goes and looks for the next book, I end up finding a book called King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. And that exposed me to the journey of the hero. And when I got exposed to the journey of the hero, growing up in the 80s, I'm born 1971. So those are my peak years. I got to see Rocky on the big screen, and if anybody got to go to a drive-in theater, imagine about 150 cars all honking when Rocky's winning, or watching Star Wars, right? Like in a galaxy far, far away, there's a young Luke Skywalker hero. Indiana Jones is also coming out in the 80s. The Karate Kid comes out in the 80s. So the hero was all around me. And the beauty of the hero then is they were accessible. I could be Luke Skywalker. I could be Indiana Jones. I could be Rocky. I can't be a Marvel hero right now and fly around and do all the CGI. The hero that I grew up with has kind of gotten away from us. Why I do what I do is the second part of why I go back to the nuns. In Catholic school, inside of churches, most of us see the cross, and the real traditional cross has a really bummer image for me of this guy named Jesus hanging on it dead. And so to go to church as a little kid and looking up and seeing this poor guy hanging on the cross, who all he wanted to do was do good, live good, be kind to others, take care of those who can't take care of themselves. I'm like, man, that's a great message. I always loved that message. And then there was a song I used to sing inside of Catholic school that I still remember to this day is, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, this little light of mine. So I knew there was two very important parts that would come together in my life now. The hero is equal to the amount of light they shine. It wasn't just that Jesus that I saw where he's like, hey, don't go hide your light under a bushel. And the hero has to go do what they have to do out in the world. The Rockies, the Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, anywhere where there's a hero, they get brighter in their journey. And then they come back to shine their light. So when you ask me, Chris, why and how, I could give you the answer, but to give you the answer without understanding what influenced me, that the nun said, no dinosaurs, so I find heroes. At the same time, heroes, and I'm looking at this guy hanging on the cross going, but he said nothing but cool stuff about shine your light. As I see that come together, why I do what I do is that everybody has a light to shine. And when they shine it, it sets others free to shine their lights in the world. That's why we have our communities. That's why we have our niche groups that we work with, because we have a very specific purpose and life gift, and that is to shine your light for the group that you could go back and support, help, and guide. So
I love that. I love that
there you
so
go.
much. And putting the dinosaurs together with the song, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, plus painting the picture of the, I never heard anyone mention that cars would honk their horns and drive in theaters. You're the first one.
Oh yeah, I mean, Los Angeles. So I'm here in Long Beach, California. Los Angeles, and I think drive-in theaters was, nationwide. But I remember going. I still remember the name, the Fiesta Drive-In, in the city of Pico Rivera, where I grew up. And just when Rocky pulls himself up the ropes around the ring, and he comes staggering, everybody's honking, flashing their lights as if Rocky could hear that moment. But we don't know what to do when we feel spirit come through us. It just comes through us. Like I'm giving myself goosebumps right now, remembering that moment. That's how spirit works. So I've always worked on when people shine their light, it is when we get out of the way and spirit works through us.
Wonderful. And what I'm feeling the spirit working through me right now is, let's talk about the future for a little bit. We can come back to your story then. So what is the future of more people having the spirit work come through them so they can shine more of their light? What will the future look like? What's the near future, next 5-10 years, of people allowing their light to shine, having the courage?
Awesome. Great question. No one else has asked me the question about what's in front of me. I really acknowledge you for asking that question, because it goes back to the why. I often say that there's a why of our past. There's a why that is current for us right now, why we do something. And then the why that makes the difference is the why of your future, right? Like, what do you get to live into? What are you going to create and cause in the world? And so dinosaurs gave me science. They gave me the want to protect the environment, to want to protect nature, to be a steward for those that don't have a voice for their own. Like when I look back, I love animals because of largely that whole young experience. So part of my future is the more people I can help be successful, the more philanthropists I could create in the world that will take care of those who can't take care of themselves. They'll donate money to help the marginalized, like living that Beatitudes, Sermon on the Mount life, take care of those who are marginalized, can't take care of themselves, like the whole thing. I see it that I create a future where people are, as they say, thinking globally and they're acting locally, and they've got the money and the resources to do it, because it's really tough to be a broke philanthropist.
Indeed. And in your future, in what you've seen happening in the future, feeling or getting downloads or uploads, what are some of those individuals' roles in society right now that in the future will be then the wealthy philanthropists that change the course of history for the better?
Wow, fantastic question. I met a gentleman named Satya Bratadam, and he's known as one of the most leading Sherpas that has been up Everest. I think he has been up Everest 19 times to guide others. Now, somebody who's a Sherpa in Everest has a mission to continue to expose others to the amazingness, or I say the awe-amazingness, like it's awesome, it is awestruck, the amazingness that nature is. And if I could have more people interested in protecting parts of the world, then they are out there being stewards for, whether it's the rainforest, whether it's protecting elephants and the big five in Africa. It is doing our best to continue to not just change, alter climate change, but it's really to impact our politicians with consciousness. Like the word that you and I haven't spoken yet, but we both swim in, is the word of consciousness. And how do we have consciousness trickle out, ripple out, splash on others so they make, from our point of view, better choices, global choices, impactful choices for the better? That's what I envision by really, elevating your leadership, my leadership, and our ability to impact others, to say, well, let me think about it from a conscious place, not a reactive, let me just take care of myself place.
Thank you. Wow. Politicians. Okay, this is very fitting because we just had elections.
Yeah, right?
Yes. Let's keep talking a little bit more about the future. I think there's some good stuff happening here right now, this co-creation. And in the future of politics, what is one possibility that you see, one transformation that you see or feel being at the tip of happening for the sake of, say, more than people taking charge of different areas of the world, of nature, and then increasing, elevating consciousness? So what's right there that could happen that you see happening soon as this work that you are proposing, bringing into the leaders of the world, takes place?
Awesome. Life - work alignment. When I created Launch Your Life's Work, I was gifted by working with sacred space leaders, pastors, ministers, yogis, practitioners, and they really gifted me the opportunity to see that your life work is one singular purpose being manifested out in the world. So that is living your life work. Life work alignment is when you're actually working with the gift your life has given you. And that's when we see when people are out of sorts and it doesn't just fit. They're very reactionary in the world, and you hear things like, I'm confused, I don't know what else I should do, it doesn't feel like I'm working in the right place. Everybody's not going to be like you and I, Fernando. We know that there's people that are introverts and they want to go in and work for a company that rewards them for the work they do and be acknowledged for that. You and I, we've kind of got the blessing, well, let's just call it the gift to be extroverts. We're out there, we're out talking to people. We want to be at the top. We want to be at the leading edge of something happening in the world. So when you ask me, what's the one thing I would ask that everybody looks at for themselves is life work alignment. Because when you are aligned really with what the gift of your life is, that is an inner landscape alignment. It's not the egoic alignment of stuff. Now you can have all the stuff that your skill sets have given you, but don't align to the stuff. Align to the message deep within that says, this is my gift, this is my talent, this is what I want to leave the world a better place with. That is where I think it's an immediate opportunity, because we also saw it in the election too. There's a certain amount of hubris and noise that we'll tolerate, but when it gets too out of control, we'll see that people will actually pull the reins back and go like, yeah, I'm with you, but that last couple statements were crazy and I can't do that crazy. And I was really happy to see that many people kind of pulled the reins back and said, I'll go with you, but that last line was crazy, so I'm going to come back a little bit. And it showed up in the numbers that we saw.
Indeed. So work-life alignment. For the folks listening, watching that may have never heard of that before, or perhaps have heard, and have not done work on it.
Yeah.
What's a good place? What's something they can do to start their inquiry or their work into what it means to then have alignment in life and work?
Yeah, thank you. The number one tool I use when I onboard or I look at persons that are super successful and then they tell me, I'm just not happy, I don't have the fulfillment, is one, are you fulfilled? If you get to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 and you look at joy, fulfillment, personal satisfaction, like I say, there's 3 domains in life that we have to look at. Your personal, which includes your spiritual, your inner landscape, your professional, which is all your skill sets and what you get paid for doing, and then your physical. Are you taking care of your body? Are you using your body for good? Does your body, have the vitality to carry your knowledge far enough in this world where you could leave a legacy? And I ask people, show me that scale. If it's a wheel that has 3 spokes, are they even? Would you rate them all the same? And that's the first place we start. And then we go ahead and we elaborate so that we kind of create that wheel of life. And we look at, okay, well, tell me about your family life. Tell me about your relationships. Tell me about with your friends. Most of us could find one of those wheels of life. And when we score ourselves on it, if it's really jagged, imagine the car trying to run down the road with the Flintstones tire that's all squared out. This is blah, 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 bumpy, right? And no one wants a Flintstones tire. We want a nice, smooth life where we can enjoy the breeze in our hair. For those of us that still have a lot of hair, but you all get it, right? So that's where I'm going to ask anybody who's like, okay, life work alignment, I get it. Great, I hear that you get my words, but I want you to really do the work and score yourself and say, but am I aligned in all the areas of life that make a difference for me and most human beings on the planet?
I love that. I love that so much. How about we chat a little bit about one of the three areas which you said is body or physical health, which to me you look and act very healthy, which is great. And one of the sentences you said was, is my body, or paraphrasing here, my body has what it takes to carry out the message, carry out the work, do the work.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that there's a correlation of physical health in, say, emotional health or even mental health. And when I say mental health, I mean it in the most exciting meaning ever, because I used to not have that kind of meaning to mental health, and now I do. And I'm like, whoa, mental health is like...
Fernando, I'm going to get some water real
Sure,
quick.
yeah.
Give me 1 second.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, everybody listening to the podcast, and I just got a bug in my throat right there. I got a little excited, and next thing you know, I needed to clear my throat. You were talking about the body, Fernando.
The body, yes. So the body, if someone has not yet, say, done the work at the physical level, the physical body, so that they can have the life, the personal life work the way they want to, and the work life work the way they want to, what can they do so that the physical health becomes such a priority in life that then will open new doors to the personal life and work life to have transformations and work better?
Great question. So it's always start with the basics. Always start with the basics. Are you taking enough steps, right? Like most of us have one of those, or many of us, not most of us, many of us have one of those iWatches. I don't wear one because I use an Ironman watch, and I'll talk about how I worked up to that. But it'll tell you, like, did you close your rings for the day? So many people look at their rings and like, how many steps did I take for the day? Really have that be important to you. Like whatever number you're at right now, if it's under 1,000, what's it going to take for you to get up to 1,000 steps? If you're under 5,000, what's it going to take for you to get up to 5,000 steps a day? If you're under 10,000, what do you got to do to get to 10,000 steps a day? Like take, I don't want to say baby steps, but take beginner steps so you can practice and build the muscle and the disciplines of a physical ritual, a physical discipline to move your body. That's one. Number two, be mindful of your diet. I'm not going to prescribe any diet, any single diet. I would say though, to be very mindful that you're eating the least amount of fast foods, the least amount of processed foods, and as much natural whole foods as you can eat. That's what I would recommend on that front. And then, so that's the fueling the body, moving the body. I'm also going to ask you to stay flexible. Same way our mind needs to be flexible, our body needs to be flexible. Keep moving, keep stretching, walk to the park, stretch a little bit again. If you haven't stretched in a while, like playfully, I couldn't get my leg up right now, but there was a time when I was a decathlete, I could get my leg all the way up next to my head because I was, I did the high jump, I did the hurdles, I did the javelin. I needed a body that could perform at elite levels. So that was, what I had to be able to do there. So the bottom line is stay moving, fuel your body, and stay flexible.
I love that. Have the body to perform at elite levels.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting here is whatever games people are playing in life, or projects or mission statement, visions, is that body matching that vision?
Well, whatever game you're playing right now, you're winning at it because that's the level of life you're at. Right? So yes, if there's a game that includes you commit to one of your friends, I'm going to do a 5K. Walk it and walk it and walk it until you could jog some of it. And once you can jog some of it, see if you can actually jog all of it. And if that's the max, because maybe your joints, maybe your back, maybe you become a power walker. Like if you ever go to any of those marathon or walking or running groups, they always have a run group, a run walk group, a jog walk group, a walking group. There's the brisk walkers, and then there's the slow walkers. Like there's always a place for you to go be a part of a community that's going to make a difference for your health and vitality.
Yeah, you're right. And here in Ocean Beach, there's a run club that there's a 4 mile and a 6 mile. Mm-hmm. So folks that want to go a little slower, go to 4 mile, go a little faster, go 6 mile. And then half of the people there, they do ultra marathons. Maybe not half, maybe 20%. Mm-hmm. But they're still doing the seemingly baby step of 4 miles or 6 miles once a week. Yeah. They're not doing 100.
Right. Yeah. You just keep moving, right? Like, I think there's a lot of value in many different ways when we look at kind of the metaphysics of scripture. I call it the metaphysics because to me they're great guidelines. They aren't literal truths, but there's a part in the Bible that says, "Come unto me as a little child." Now, by and large, that means, hey, can you still play? Can you still run around? Can you still move your body? Can you engage with others in a playful setting? Right? And that's just that part. It's not even saying, can you still come to me as a little kid who has fresh ideas and isn't so fixed on a position or an opinion anymore? That's another level of the metaphysics of that statement, right? Like, let it go play, get out there and do the things you like to do.
Yeah, I love that a lot. I've never heard anyone use the word metaphysics and scripture in the same sentence. It's fascinating. And for anyone watching, listening, that is not familiar with the word metaphysics, what's one way of explaining what metaphysics is?
Very good. So the metaphysics is a parallel use, a parallel application of a message. So you don't take the message as a truism. You look at how else can this message be applied? How else can a universal law be applied? The metaphysics of something, the meta, and gosh darn you, Mark Zuckerberg, hijacking our word meta.
Well, you know what's happening, right, with Meta?
They're meta failing right now. And people are meta buying stuff that doesn't exist. So in any case, but the metaphysics of is to look at another level of application of that statement beyond the traditional, maybe cemented opinion version we would normally accept. How else can we expand on that message without being too fantastic in its application? But I think for myself, the metaphysics of that statement is, come on to me as a little child. Be light in your thinking. Be creative in your thinking. Be willing to talk to as many people as you can to play in this world. be able to move your body, be willing to dance, right? Like we see all these TikTok videos where now the cool thing is to turn the camera and film the kid's reaction while the parents are doing something. We all watch it. Why? Because there's something about being childlike that calls to us still. But we're stuck in this adulting that there's no rule book for. We've fallen into it. It's called getting older, but we fell into it. And there's still a part of us that wants to play, that wants to be childlike. And that's why we watch it. It calls to us.
This rule book, I love that. Talk a little bit about a rule book and creating a rule book for oneself, and and I'm sure that you do that in your work. Like, what, for the people watching, listening, what is something they could do? Something, perhaps a story of someone you worked with, or what you did with yourself, to then having a rule book that was not only more childlike, but also that had that took messages from books such as the Bible, and created your own rule book.
Wow. Well, I thank you for recreating and reflecting back at me the words I used. I should have better said a guidebook rather than a rule book, because there are no steadfast rules on living. I would say, though, there are some core principles and distinctions for living a well-lived life. And I would say what I look at, and this was something that, being very authentic for myself, the word integrity, integridad, was not a word that was used within the Latin culture of men that I was raised in. Macho was a word that was used more often than integridad. So when I saw the destructiveness of having, it's not just the grass is greener, it was how much grass can you go and play on besides where you're supposed to really tend your own space. So infidelity, we know, has often plagued the Latino male culture. And it's a fundamental breakdown. And once I finally got the destructiveness of that irresponsibility, and then the justification that we use for operating that way, I got what the word integrity meant, and I had to start putting it into other areas of my life so that I could have the life that I could be proud of from beginning to end, from sun up to sun down. So that would be one of the core fundamental things that I would say as a guide. Have integrity with yourself. 1, have integrity with your word. 2, so let's go back to that metaphysics for a moment. We live in a world that is a word-to-world relationship. What do I mean by that? If you go back to this scripture, again, I grew up Catholic, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. So in the Bible, and for those of you listening, I'm not a Bible guy, but I grew up 12 years of Catholic school, so you just got to get, that's how I listen to stuff. But I always found in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The metaphysics of that is your word creates your world. What are you saying out in the world? Because as a guide for yourself, if you're saying, oh, my life sucks, that's the world you create. If you're saying words that don't speak goodness, abundance, positivity over your life, that's the world you create. So integrity, 1. Number 2, watch the word that you give, and give a big word to the areas of your life that will have you grow to make a difference for others. So there's 2 parts of that one, right? It's not just watch your word, but then give big words in areas where you could be big contribution, and then figure out how to live into your word.
Wow.
And then the 3rd one, is a whole conversation about what love is and all the different areas where we get to love more. Who do we get to love? Love of self. So those are the three things that I would have people start with as the big guideposts for that guidebook: integrity, your word, and love. Go focus there. And you'll transform your life, your family's life, your community's life, and many lives that you didn't even know you're going to impact.
Wonderful. For those watching, listening, that might be going through, say, thoughts or emotions coming through as the word integrity is spoken, of, man, I really messed up in this situation. I really messed up in a different situation. I really even effed up bigly.
Yeah.
What is there then to restore integrity with oneself?
Wow. I love how you describe how do we restore it, right? Because it's a restoration process. It's why there's the story of the phoenix, that burning your own self down to ashes so that something new could rise up. It's the metaphysics of roll away the stone after your own death. So what comes out of the tomb is your biggest, highest purpose, brightest self. You can't go from shitty life, forgive me, to then having the perfect life. You got to do the restoration process. And if you've ever been somebody who's restored wood, there is a lot of sanding of that top layer that you have got to do to get back to that pristine, clean wood, that then you could say, this is what I've meant to shine the whole time. So that's one part, is you got to be responsible to the extent that you can be responsible for what you've caused in the world. You got to go wherever you owe an apology, give the apology, and honor the people who said, I never want to talk to you again. Well, write that letter, ask one of your best friends to sit there in place of that person that you need to read it to. If it needs to be of the same gender of the person you're writing to, allow that person to get what you're apologizing for, but don't go back into someone else's life that's moved on just because you've got something to heal. That's your inner work. They've moved on. And then the other part that I would say is, we go into kind of the Jungian, Freudian aspect, is the ego loves to beat ourself. It loves to be that barking chihuahua that says, you're wrong, you're stupid. Why did you ever do that? No one ever wants to listen to you. All you've ever been is a failure, blah, blah, blah. Do the inner work that starts to confront the voice of the ego, because you've been driven by it. If you've had that much disruption and maybe even destruction in your own life, the ego is like Arnold Schwarzenegger in your head right now, and your spirit voice is this small little scrawny kid, and you've got to start to do the work to build up the listening of higher purpose and allowing the ego to no longer have that control over your thoughts, over your actions, over your words.
I love that a lot. All the things you said there, and I was making a mental picture here of people, writing the letter, going to their friends, some friend, and say, hey, can you just sit here in front of me as I read this letter and just role play being so and so, and I think that's a really powerful tool. I know I've done it, so I can speak from experience. Many places we could go here. How about you sharing a little bit more about what you're currently working on,
Okay.
and how people can be part of your vision?
Yeah, thank you for that. So for those of you listening to this conversation, Fernando introduced me as the coach, developer, and creator of Launch Your Life's Work and the Author Launchpad. That's what I'm currently working on, where I help authors. So let's talk about the Author's Launchpad. I help authors, speakers, and coaching experts be able to plan, create, and sell their knowledge, their expertise, so they can create that framework for financial freedom by building that book business, by experiencing the difference they make and having that impact. So that's the first thing that I do in one of my programs, and it is my most popular program, which is the Author Launchpad. So if there's anybody out there that is a nonfiction author, or you've just published, or you're about to publish a book, or you've already done it, but your book business isn't in doing what you would like for it to do, reach out to me, reach out to Fernando, and say, hey, can you connect us, please? So there's one, or go to www.theauthorlaunchpad.com. The other thing is Launch Your Life's Work. So one of the things that I saw is all of us, we go back to that hero theme that I described. I shouldn't say all of us. The majority of us want to be seen at a level of contribution to the world. We want to make a difference. If we can make a difference in our communities, great. If we can make it within our state, even better. If we can make it inside of a community of people or animals or whatever that community is, then that's where we see ourselves. And when people say, define your purpose, declare your purpose, what's your life purpose? Well, that's great. But I call it living your purpose, which is your life work. It's not just declare it, it's then go live it. Because in the living of it is when you're really going to see your purpose come to life. So oftentimes you hear people say, what's your purpose? Define your purpose. Well, that's like saying, here's a screwdriver. Yeah, it has a purpose, but are you using it to build something? That's what I want people to do when they work with me, right? Like bring their purpose. If not, we'll discover it and then put it to use. And then the third part is I have had about 15 years of transformational work as both student, as coach. I've been inside and worked on the curriculums and the development of. I'm a curriculum writer. I'm a course writer. So my strength has traditionally been to be in the back of the room, coaching coaches, coaching leaders on how to be more effective coming forward. And as some would say, there's jack of all trades, master of none. I say I am a jack of all trades, master of one, and it's who's ever in front of me in that moment. It is all eyes, all attention, all energy focused on that one person, bringing out their highest purpose to make a difference in this world, to do what they said they dreamed about doing. So those are my big three domains. And oftentimes that looks like leadership coaching, executive coaching, communications, and then I have my other programs as well.
Wonderful. Wow. Very, very exciting. Very, very exciting projects and offers. So everyone watching, listening, if you're feeling this is for you, then this is it. Reach out to Chris. Let's see. Any last words before we?
Yeah, let me ask you. I love being asked. I really do, and I thank you for that. But here's the question that I ask, and I'm asking listeners, whether you're listening to us now, present, or you're going to listen to us in the future on a recording or a playback. What is the one thing you want people to know about themselves? What is that one message that you are willing to plant a flag on and say, I want people to know this about themselves? So for you, Fernando, the same way I have planted a flag called you have a light to shine. And when you shine it, it's kind of like that lighthouse. You're going to bring all the other ships into you safely so they can do what they're going to do in the world. What is your message, Fernando, that you want people to know about themselves, that they know when I want this in my life, Fernando's the guy I go to?
It's to empower families so that kids grow up freely. It's to really empower the parents,
Wow.
so that they are living, they're getting paid, they're going to work, they get paid, and they actually get energized in their work. And their kids feel it.
Wow.
Their kids get the energy that's created at work, at dad's work, mom's work. And so it has to do with kids. As I get ready to have kids in the future, I'm single and looking to call in my life partner.
That's right.
I'm now delving into that world of parenting, coaching parents, family coaching, relationship coaching, which then
Wow.
yeah, especially for tech companies.
Really
So for
great.
especially for workers of tech companies, because the overlap there. My love for the engineering world, or engineers, has been, my appreciation has been greater and greater as I meet more and more engineers and realize that this world works because of engineers. I mean,
Oh,
because of
absolutely.
everybody. So more and more, I'm like, I want to support those people that work in tech.
Yeah.
Because tech, this is, we're talking on Zoom right now. This is being streamed to 5 different channels through, with another company, a tech company. We have the computer, the microphone, tech. Engineers, programmers. So it's, so it's helping creating programs for tech companies, so that there's a level of life purpose being lived daily.
You got that.
And then
Thank
kids
you.
are just like looking up to all the adults in their lives. So the kids look up physically, metaphorically. Anyone they're around, it's a role model, because they're living their life purpose daily.
I'm very touched and moved by that. It is an application that is universal to be the best parents we can be, and what does that look like? And then, and I'm a parent. My son just turned 24. And I also get in the world of tech. Like when we talk about that, that's a group that I work with. They tend to be, I'm cautious on this, but they like everything in the box because, you check things off. The play, let's go back to the play, the nuances of play and thinking outside the box is usually a little bit uncomfortable for a lot of our tech listeners, because they know they need to deliver very specific, high integrity products that do not involve loose ends or play. So in that process, they also don't build the muscle for play, although they're very creative and visionary sometimes. Their physical processing might get a little rigid, and that rigidity does not go well when you have a little kid going, let's play, and you're kind of rigid. So that flexibility of thought and being comes back again. And Fernando, I can't acknowledge you enough for the work you're going to do with those families and the lives you're going to impact, because, hey, our tech community is going to continue to lead the world in advancements, and they're going to make great money. But if they can't connect with the source of who they are and the difference they make, then they're not going to be fulfilled, or as fulfilled as they can be. They'll be great providers, but what about the fulfillment?
I love that. And I have an invitation for you, Chris. So Fridays, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, I run a mastermind, which is a planning committee for experts that are that want to be on board with this idea of bringing that level of solutions to tech companies. And I'd like to extend you the invitation to be there if you're available tomorrow 9:30 a.m. and be part of the conversation. And we're co-creating.
Wow.
And we have about 6 to 9 of us that have come together for the last maybe 7 Fridays so far. So that's an invitation for you.
I would love to. I'm looking at it right now. There was a request that I just launched an author launchpad templates and toolkits bundle, because there's so many like speaker one sheets, hero sheets, media press releases that I've made for my clients. I decided to let a gift out early. So that template bundle is getting released tomorrow. And our goal time was 9:30, 10:15 to do a live announcement for that. So if you're willing to extend me that invitation for the following week, I would love then to be able to be a yes and come in and acknowledge, because my science background, I can roll with tech all day long. And I also know, I believe I can contribute to those persons looking to stay flexible in their thinking, in their playfulness, in their fulfillment, while leading the edge of science and technology.
Yes, definitely. The invitation is open, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you.
Please give listeners and viewers your website one more time and a way to connect with you.
Yeah, outstanding. So if you would just love to connect with me as Chris Trammell, there's something I said that made a difference to you. There's an aspect of it where you're like, you know what, I could use a conversation with this guy. Go to www.christrammell, Trammell, coaching.com. So christrammellcoaching.com. And if you're an author, you're nonfiction, there's something in your heart that you know you want to teach back to a group of people that you have found your victory inside of, then maybe the Author Launchpad is the place for you to go to help you launch the difference-making opportunity you are. And that is www.theauthorlaunchpad.com. And you could find us that way as well.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for this valuable time. I honor your work. I honor you so much. Looking forward to what develops next for you in your amazing visions of the future. From working with authors to politicians. Very excited for you. And thank you for accepting the invitation to be here today. I learned a lot.
Thank you, Fernando. And I really acknowledge you. For those of you, Fernando didn't ask me, as a participant, as someone who is generous, he was one of the big, bright, shining lights during John Block's Masterful Communicators Conference in San Diego. And Fernando, you had a gravitational pull on people. They all wanted to go to dinner with you because they wanted to know about your expertise and what you do in the world. So for those of you that get to be part of and will continue to stay working with Fernando, again, lean in. He's brilliant. He's great. And there's things that I get to learn from Fernando offline when we're not here sharing with one another, so that it makes a difference in the listeners' lives.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Chris. For everyone watching and listening, there you have it. Get in touch with Chris Trammell. Share, like, comment below 1, 2, or 3 takeaways. It's very important to acknowledge the lessons by either writing it down or telling someone about it.
Yes.
Keep those takeaways in existence.
Absolutely. I call it taking it from aha to action.
All right. Amazing. Mic drop moment. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, my friend. Have an amazing live tomorrow with your with what you're doing tomorrow, letting the world know broadcasting with your business, and looking forward to connecting soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Fernando. And everybody, do good, be good, make great money, and leave good legacy.